Hi, everybody. It's Nico Bernie Miller. We're kicking off a new Change 3 Business Live Lab. Today, we're focused on the AI enablement ecosystem in Canada. If you're not in Canada, today's conversation will still be valuable to you, particularly if you're a tech provider serving small and mid-sized businesses, if you're a technical decision maker in any business of any size, or if you are a solution provider or a consultant and you're trying to figure out where you fit in the whole AI ecosystem. We're focused on Canada because today's guest is a partner, a strategic partner that we've had the honor to work with for many years, and also the lead of our Canadian initiative, Will Freewa from Lumo Consulting, and I'll introduce him in just a bit. But what I really want everyone to be ready for is a very active discussion. Feel free to ask questions along the way while we're having this discussion and take part. So, Will, how you doing, babe? It's good to see you.
Nice to see you again. Thank you for having me over, Nico.
Absolutely. So, a lot's going on in AI around the world. But I know for the Canadian tech provider ecosystem, there have been a bunch of big changes this year. IBM made changes to its program, Microsoft made changes to their program, and Click and other really important vendors have made different types of changes. And so, what we hope to cover, and Will, I know you can shed some light on it in today's conversation, is what do those changes mean? And what does it mean for the different types of customers? So why don't you give us a little bit of background before we kick off our Q&A portion of it, where I'm asking you some questions and we're going to get hot and heavy in talking data.
Sure thing. So I'm Will Freewa, as you had mentioned. I own Luma Consulting. I'm located just north of Toronto, work on both sides of the border. I'm an ex-IBMer. I've also worked with some other companies. And my particular specialty is SMB. So if you're looking, well, Canada's 99% SMB, so it's kind of hard to avoid that. But, and we've worked with very small SMBs to, reasonably large SMBs, and AI, which is why this stream is very important, is a part of everything I run across in all of my clients. So I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Absolutely. So let's dive right into it. So what I've done, guys, is I've prepared um, 3 questions and 3 bits of data to help us shape our thinking and spark the conversation. And so I'm going to share those questions on screen. And so, first question. So, Will, dearest, what is changing in Canada's AI landscape? And what does it mean for both small and mid-sized businesses? That's what SMB stands for. If you're one of them and you don't think of yourself as an SMB. But if your business is, say, less than 1,000 employees, you might be referred to as a leader in a small and mid-sized business or an SMB. And what does it mean for tech providers, Will? What are you
Yeah.
thinking?
So Canada does a lot of research in terms of AI. As I'm sure most other people, everything you hear these days is AI this and AI that. Unfortunately, the adoption of AI in Canada is quite low. It's climbing gradually, but it is quite low. So what we are seeing from an AI landscape is that SMBs are hearing about AI. SMBs are like, should I use AI? How can I use AI? What do I do with AI? So there's a lot more of a discussion on AI practices, AI enablement. If I decide to use AI, how? What's my first step? Who do I go to for help? And so what we're seeing, for example, is lots of, the Canadian government is putting a lot of initiatives around AI, and they're putting some funding, around AI as well. And then you have community groups, and then now a lot of solution providers and consultants, of which I'm one, for example. Our focus is shifting more and more to AI because more and more Canadian SMBs are asking us about AI. It's a very good thing because AI is the future. You need to make sure that we use it, and we make sure that we have to use it properly. and see how we can use it properly. Canadian landscape, what do we do as next steps? So it's a very changing, very fluid landscape, very relevant to the question that you're asking.
Thank you. Absolutely. And I think the big one, and maybe we can move to the next data point is, as Will said, adoption is accelerating everywhere, not just in Canada or in the United States, but everyone is messing around with it. And what I think is very important, and thank you for joining us. And if you're watching us on the stream, remember this live stream, we only stream a portion of our business labs. And today is a Q&A discussion with an executive leader from Lumo Consulting who focuses on the Canadian market, working with tech providers and small and mid-sized businesses. The live stream is going to end in about 10 minutes roughly, and we won't be done with our conversation. So if you want to make sure you're part of this whole conversation, please come on over to the Change 3 Live Lab. It's totally free. Just click the link in the comments. It'll take you right in and you won't miss a thing. You just have to enter your business email address, and in a few seconds, you'll be right in and you'll keep seeing this discussion going. But a few things for folks that are in and that are watching us is advisory, right? So a lot of your employees and you yourself are probably already using tools like Copilot from Microsoft or Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini. God forbid you're using that stuff in your business. No, I'm joking. But you're probably using something. And a lot of your people are using stuff. According to Microsoft, they say that 71% of smaller businesses are already using, AI or generative AI of some sort. But how the degree of the adoption could vary. And what's that key point? What does that mean? Using it for your own personal productivity. I'm sure we all are having like yay moments with AI. Most days we're like, oh my gosh, you just saved me a ton of time, which is awesome. But using it strategically in your business, that is still what's to come. And the adoption of that is dramatically lower. Like being able to, for example, create an autonomous agent or automate certain workflows or things like that. Those sorts of things have a requirement for data readiness and governance and security that a small business could abso-freaking-lutely do. But you've got to be ready first. And so that's where tech providers have such a huge opportunity, especially when you've got a consulting arm or you're working with a consultant like Will at Lumo. So you can go in there and provide that small or mid-sized business the support they need to become ready to, I say, ingest, right, to absorb AI into their business and potentially transform, because that's probably what will happen is you'll see in the chat, if you're watching us on the stream, you'll see that in the chat, we posted a resource that I've been working on. I published my second book. Yay! And we've got a free resource. We call it the 20-minute AI habit. And we've done a bunch of research with a lot of leaders in small and mid-sized businesses. And what we've learned is that how we do work when we work with AI resources and with human resources changes a little bit. What doesn't change is us being leaders. We still got to lead them, right? It's just that, digital labor, as Microsoft likes to call it, they don't complain as much. But you still got to, give them clear guidance and clear direction. And, when you're working with like Copilot or Claude or Gemini or whatever AI tool you prefer to work with, I'm sure that you've already discovered that your work habits have already changed, right? They're already changing. And the thing is with our 20-minute AI habit series, we go in deeper because it's actually, guys, an opportunity to like totally transform how you work. But what I recommend and what I do for myself is, baby, don't do it all at once, right? Start very slow. And if you're a tech provider, because what's cool, guys, is the folks that have decided, signed up for this business lab, it's a whole mix of folks. We've got some tech providers in here. Hey, guys. And we've got some small business leaders and we've got some technology leaders in mid-size and smaller enterprises. So thank you and welcome for joining. What a mixed group of decision influencers and leaders in this discussion. But the reason why we brought you guys all together is because I'm sure you know this, but I want to make sure that we talk about it together. Is that our users, right? The workers, the operators, the builders, and the makers, those guys actually need quite a lot more support than we might be used to when we're rolling out technology solutions. So, even though a lot of our small and mid-sized business customers are using or experimenting with AI, and they're already experiencing benefits. 70% of them say that. That's almost everybody, right? If 71% of them are using it and 70% of them say that it's improved their productivity, that's like everybody, right? They're like, this is great. And that's my experience too. It's really great. But you can get more when you have more clarity. And so that's really what today's discussion is going to be about. It's about how you as a tech provider or you as a technologist in your company, what is it that really is going to help you scale your company's AI investment most efficiently? And what's needed to ensure that your company can ingest, right, or absorb that AI technology successfully, regardless of size? So that takes us to our next question. So, how can small business tech providers and consultancies create successful AI outcomes together? Will, what do you think? What's like? Give me three things because change three. I always want three. So, give me the three things that you really need, right? Like a requirement. What are those three requirements to make sure that those AI outcomes deliver some value?
Well, so I mean, the first step in is identify a workflow that is giving you an issue. Very small, great way to get started. And I'll give an example of a customer that we had right now. Second step would be make sure that the data that you are working with is ready for AI. You have to tell AI where to go to in order to get the right data, in order to give you a proper response. And then the third thing is you need enablement. You need to know what to do and how to do it and what's the next step to do. I'll give you a real small example. We went to see a customer yesterday, and they were using Microsoft Copilot, the paid one, not the free one that we all get on the desktops. And their billing statements were not showing up on a consistent pattern. We walked them through on how to use, put the billing statement that you want in Copilot. Now, I don't know the back end, whether they're using Chat GPT or Claude, but it was one of them since it was the paid one.
It uses both now. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And you can actually compare them. You can say, compare this with this and come back and let me know. And then the second part is we said, put in the one that you would like to transform and tell it what is it you want to do. So your data is there. The data is specific. The format is there. Everything is there. It did it in less than 2 minutes. And they were so amazed at something small. That's your bottleneck. That's your data. That's your enablement, because we as the outside consultants came in and walked them through it. And that came out with a super happy customer who's now using more and more AI to save time and be able to, instead of doing 15 jobs per person, maybe now they're only doing 8 jobs per person.
I love it. I love it. That's right. But you know what? You're hitting on such a big topic, right? Scalability. And that's something that we've been watching big conversations around in big companies. They've experienced that, right? They're like, hey, we rolled out these AI pilots, but adoption isn't what we had wanted and governance isn't as what we wanted. So what does that mean if you're in a small business or you're a tech provider serving smaller customers? The first one is, Will's example is so perfect. Our actual user, they already have a job and they're busy. And what they don't want to do is have to reimagine what they're doing or how they're doing it. And they don't see, a tool like Copilot or Claude or Chat or whatever it is. They don't see it. They don't know it well enough to feel confident that it's going to deliver them meaningful results. So you as a leader, whether you're a technology leader or a business leader, I strongly encourage you to make sure that in any of your AI rollout projects that you've got time for enablement. And what is that? That is exactly what Will just described. Work with your users and show them specific, very, very simple. You might even be thinking, that's so simple. She should have known that, but she didn't. And so it's like, you got to find that one little thing, that small scenario that yields real value for that user. It might be a team, it might be an individual, it might be a whole department. When they find that one scenario where they can use their AI tool, and I'm not paid by Microsoft, but I use Copilot because it has security and governance and all kind of stuff. And I don't want to put my secret sauce out there in the in the global models. And so I always, whenever people say, well, which should I use? I say I use Copilot because it uses both and it's secure. Some people say, well, it's more secure than the others. Well, I'll go for more than less when it comes to, right, protecting my data. But regardless of what platform you use, find that small individual, scenario for that team, that person, or that department. Because what that'll do is then they're going to go on their own, right? They're going to be like, wow, it's got the wow moment. And then they're going to go experiment, explore. But the next thing, guys, is because, we are also consultants, just like Will. He's one of our strategic partners, and we're so honored to work with him. And together, we work together with small and mid-sized businesses, especially tech providers, to help them grow happily. But what we've learned as we've been working with small businesses through our grant program, what we've learned is that it starts with an aha moment. And then the roadblocks are, as Will pointed out, readiness, right? My team's not ready. Or they're using something. Here's a really common one. Half my people are already using ChatGPT. So how do I get them off of ChatGPT and move them into Copilot? Right? That's a very real scenario. And it's like, you really have to get them to stop using these consumer tools. You have to, people. Please don't let your workers or your employees use consumer grade AI for their work, because it is not secure at all in any way. And it's really, or please establish governance, rules, like a governance policy in writing, so that they're not uploading your company's financials or sensitive information, into an unsecure environment, because they are cloud environments, and that information is ingested into the global model. So please make sure you read the privacy statements in whatever AI tool you're using. You as a tech provider, make sure that I strongly encourage you to advise your clients, especially your smaller ones that may not have the level of data governance and security governance that you're used to with larger accounts. Take a little bit of time and do a little bit of training for them. It'll create such a great conversation. But we find that they stumble upon readiness. Their data's not ready, their policies aren't ready, their processes aren't ready, their people aren't ready. And so that's really how we come together to have more successful outcomes, is by working together, the business, probably an advisor like a company like Lumo or Change3, and probably a tech provider, that work together and really identify those issues of, what are the roadblocks? And then what's awesome is that once that business has gotten that first step in enablement, I think what you're going to find is the economics of expertise start to change. You can get insight and information out of your AI tools, but having a consultant that'll help you ground it into fact to make sure that it's not hallucinating and it hasn't giving you responses or guidance that's out of context is going to be very helpful. So, and that was the point that I had made earlier. So of those, Canadian businesses that are, using AI, it's like only 12% of them are, taking it to that next level. And so and that's not just unique to Canada. It's the case with businesses around the world, that a lot of us are using AI tools, especially in small businesses. for personal productivity. But when it comes to more advanced capabilities like autonomous agents,
Yeah.
agentic workflows, that sort of stuff, it's harder to do those things. And that's really where a tech solution provider becomes so powerful. And tech solution providers that are in this session, this is where we really hope that you're going to lean in. And we invite you to come in and join the business lab so we can talk about it and get into some really hands-on discussion of how do you design that step from people using AI to the business using AI. Microsoft talks about it like personal productivity versus business productivity. So agents, agentic AI, they think of as business productivity, where it's not necessarily people doing things, but the business is able to do things. And this is really where I think the tech provider becomes indispensable for that small and mid-sized business. Is um, it's very helpful to have a technical expert when you go down that path. It's also very helpful to have a consultant, a business consultant, be involved as well, because what we talked about is your business processes might change for the better. It won't be like, oh gosh, I have to do all this work and it's going to be really expensive. It might not be as expensive as you think, and it may not take as long as you think. But I strongly encourage you that when you're thinking about, oh, hey, how about I put an AI chatbot on my website? That's a really great example. That's actually an opportunity to rethink the whole journey, right? Is the journey that I have on my website right now optimized? Do I have enough analytics to, optimize this journey right now? And if you don't, if you don't have that, then you actually might want to go about that a little bit differently, because putting an autonomous AI agent into a situation might not make it better. And we've seen that a lot. We've seen that with really large companies that are like, oh, I'm going to put an AI agent into this scenario. And it actually makes it worse because the underlying process wasn't great. And so that's one learning that I want to make sure that we don't skip beyond, is that AI is not an end all be all, right? It's not a solution to every problem, my darlings. It is an enabler. And so if what it's enabling isn't optimized, right, if maybe it's got little cracks in the, it's not perfect, well, what'll happen is it's going to make that not perfectness even less perfect. It's going to
For it. So the workers are like, okay. And actual use started dropping in the organization until
yeah,
advisors or people up in upper management said, here are some examples, here are some things. Put the guardrails, put the data, work with people. The whole point is to move forward, not to just have it sit there as a, oh my God, what did they do kind of thing.
absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. And that's what we've seen. Like I said, we have kicked off a program and we've been researching with about 100 small and mid-sized businesses around the world, primarily in North America, the United States and Canada, and to understand where they are with their AI adoption and how that affects how their businesses operate. And what we learn is exactly what you just pointed out. There's sometimes a difference between where the leaders are in their familiarity with these tools and their staff. And it could be either or. It could be the business owners like, I don't do AI, right? And their staff is like, I love AI, right? And so there's
Yep.
that I call it a delta, or the other way around, right? Like for me, when I went to a big Microsoft conference last year, I'm honored as one of my clients. And so I was exposed to the rollout of Copilot and was like, wow, what is this? And started my journey. And it really has absolutely transformed how I operate my business. But I've done that not like right away. I didn't do it in a formal process, like where, I met the head of transformation at British Airways, and he has a $6 billion transformation project that he did, that he's in the way of 200 different projects, taking notes, right? It was like, just that alone was worth, it was like $21 or something a month. And I thought, oh, this is great. And so then I started to add licenses to other people, and that was beneficial too. But really, where it became hugely beneficial. So if you're the leader in a smaller mid-sized business, or you're a key person in a tech provider and you're thinking about how do you enable your small and mid-sized business customers, I want to help you understand one thing. So for me as the leader, when I started to use Copilot and I started to use it to enable myself, that was a pivotal moment. And that's really the takeaway from today, guys, is it's that small business owner, the founder, and their leadership team. That's the greatest opportunity for initial enablement, because we as business leaders don't have the time for focus. We don't have the time for research. We don't have the time to be strategic, even though, like in Will's case, he's had 30 years at IBM. He's this incredible leader and he's got all this incredible professional experience. But when you don't have a team of people to do stuff for you, you have to do it yourself.
Yep.
And right. And so that reduces your ability to focus and to have the time and be patient. When you got to book your own appointments, honey, you can't do, you're right. You can only do, right. And I'm not saying that we small business owners can't be phenomenal, because we are. But what I'm saying is that when we use a tool like AI, we are actually the place, us as leaders and our team, our direct reports, you empower us with a co-pilot so that we're more productive as individuals, is like transformational for the business. And that's what I've done at my company. And it's been, I'm not kidding you, it's like 4x. I mean, it continues to rise. And that sounds like an ad, and I hate saying it because of that. But I literally operate so much more efficiently, and I've been able to serve my clients so much more efficiently. It's resulted in more revenue, and it's allowed me to make different investments in. We're going on 1 year now. So in a 1 year journey, we've increased by, I think, 4 times. Right. And it's really because of AI. And it's not that the AI gave me the ideas. What it did is it gave me more room, right? More room to be a leader. And it gave me access to more intelligence and information so I could make better decisions and do it faster. And the example that you gave, Will, where you said, hey, here I have this leader, and she's like, hey, this piece, this one thing is like friction for me.
Yep.
So that means it's a distraction, it's a roadblock, it's a stumbling block. And that she was able to put that into Copilot and be like, boom. And now you can schedule the stinking thing, right?
Exactly. Next step, do the agents, automate this. It's funny everything that you're talking about, Nico, because it hits right on it. So for the solution providers on the call in Canada, we do have a requirement where the data should stay in Canada as much as possible. So
Good point.
that's a constraint from a government regulation that we have to comply to. So things like Copilot, for example, which are better than some of the other offers there, is a good thing. The second thing is that for the solution providers, talk to your distributors. So, we've worked with Arrow, with Ingram, with TD Synnex, whoever your distributor is from, let's say, Microsoft, taking them as an example point of view. See what options they have, see what sales they have, see what education enablement they have that can actually help you. And then the other point that you brought up, which is really good, we had a customer that was doing a bid for a government project. So what they did is they used several models of AI to say, here's our core data. This is what we offer. This is the particular government division that we are going to put this bid in, right? Marry the two for me so that I can come up with a bid which is more tailored towards them, right? At the same time, taking their security considerations into account based on what we have. So if we had to do all of the research and do all of this, which is what the customer was saying, that would take a fair amount of time. AI cut the time in half.
Yeah.
Right. So it allowed them to submit something relevant. So, whether you're a solution provider that can take advantage of this, or whether you're somebody who's looking into this, what you get out of AI is sometimes things you didn't know or more relevant to what you're looking at. versus trying to figure out 20 research things that I have to look at so I can make sure it's the right fit for you,
Yeah, great
right?
point. Great point. Yep. And the big takeaway, and I hate to harp on it, is AI actually is about people more than it's about
Yes.
technology. And so for you as a tech provider, if you're adding AI into your suite of services, or maybe you're an IBM partner or a Microsoft partner or a Click partner or something like that, and there's an
Yep.
embedded AI offering, please know, especially as you go down market, then there is an opportunity to do more enablement. And the enablement is actually much more straightforward than you can imagine, because we've given you some examples of aha moments for your target user, that they're actually very simple, right? If you've been using these tools and you're like, hey, that's 2006, right? That's like really basic stuff. But that's actually where a lot of users are, guys. They are, even though they're dabbling with it, or maybe they're using a dedicated application for, say, marketing, or a dedicated application for something else that has an agentic component, the average worker is still in experimentation mode, with the exception of some in very large companies, right? Where the company has a very, dedicated, focused transformation process, like I mentioned with British Airways, and they've got AI boards and they've got a whole process, right? But the smaller the business, the less likely they're going to have that. And if they don't have that, then that means there's a great opportunity for you to just do basic enablement. And you could do that with a partner like with us. We work with partners that do like workshops, like 2-3 hour workshops. Like I said, we put in the comments, my micro learning program. So it's got all these little habits. I think we've mapped out like 110 habits for business people, from managing your calendar to creating marketing content, or improving, doing a SWOT analysis, right, in 3 seconds or less. But look at it, you laugh, right? We all laugh, and it's true. It is funny. But the thing is like, I like to absorb a lot of these videos. And so this one guy, he was very masculine, very alpha, and he was like, if you're not doing this with AI, then you're dumb, right? But no, he really did say that. But his point was still right. He was like, if you're just thinking about using, AI to help you write a report faster, you've like missed the boat. And I would never say such a thing, because whatever you do to get through your day more efficiently and more effectively is
Yep.
awesome. But what I do want to challenge you to do is that his point was, there's so much more you could do with it if you change your mindset. And what I say is, if you adjust your habits, like, this is a new platform, your habits actually have an opportunity to change. And I'm going to give you two examples. And tech providers, these are some ways that you could kick off an AI conversation with your small and mid-sized businesses in Canada or anywhere. Number one, the CEO of the company has to prepare sales presentations, potentially, right? That's something I do a lot. And I used to do them in PowerPoint, right? I got 400 years of PowerPoint experience, so I know PowerPoint, right? But 6 months ago, I stopped using PowerPoint. I don't create PowerPoints anymore. I create customized images using Copilot that replace slides. And then I can replicate those. If, let's say, it's a sales presentation and I need to, rebrand it for a different prospect, well, then I can just replicate that, right? Upload that image, give a new logo, a little new context, new information to add into the image. And then I generate a brand new custom image, right? That I use as a slide. And it was an aha moment for me. I was like, I must be dumb. I mean, this must be what people are doing. But guys, it's not, right? People are still making PowerPoints, and that's not bad. But what I'm saying is, a small business user, this is as a small business leader, this is an opportunity to reimagine how you do things, and not in a bad way, guys. And I don't, like I said, don't go and be like, let me throw my whole my skills out the
Oh,
window.
no.
Don't do that. But just one habit at a time. And for tech providers, this is how you get that aha moment with that customer that is wondering, well, should we invest in Copilot? Because doubles or even could triple the cost of their Microsoft 365 monthly contract. It could be an AI, building an AI agent is like tens of thousands of dollars, maybe, or maybe $10,000 or what. I don't know what y'all charge in Canada, but I know what people charge in the United States. And building a really autonomous agent that's well secured and governed and everything is really not cheap. For someone who knows what they're doing, it's not a cheap activity. So if you're out there and you're like, hey, convincing that small and mid-sized business owner, hey, we'll build an agent, it's only $10,000 or $15,000, they're going to be like, hell to the no, right? Unless, of course, you give them an aha moment. And like I said, some of these aha moments are so simple. In Will's case, it was a bill, putting it in the right format. For me, it was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I could produce my decks in a completely different way and transform how I do that. For others, it could be something else, very, very simple. And so that's the biggest advisory we would give you guys is go in, and as you meet with those teams, just find that simple, ask them a lot of questions about where are their pain points. And then you, as that technical expert, could start to think about, well, hey, let's see if we could fix that with Copilot. And then that's the beginning of their journey with agentic, right? Going down that path. And honey, once you do that and they're ready and they're like, oh my gosh, this is so great. If I could just make this autonomous. Well, then when you go to them and you go, hey, that's $10,000 or $15,000, they're like, okay, right. Where do I write the check? And so it's a journey. It's definitely a journey. Okay, one more question. I know we're running up against time. So I got one more question. So what are the biggest opportunities? So, and that teed us up really good. So Will, especially for Canada, right, for these Canadian tech providers and Canadian SMBs, any thoughts on what might be their biggest opportunities around, in general, and anything related to the AI ecosystem? What are your thoughts?
So from a solution point of view, you touched it on the previous one, which is starting the AI journey of your customers, starting at the very beginning. So this is what I'm seeing with my customers as they evolve. So an example would be the cost of building an agent in Canada is probably between 5,000 to 20,000 Canadian. And we have all types of different tax. So I'm in Ontario, it's 13% HST. And then there's $200 a month. So that is one opportunity where you can work with your SMBs. If you are an SMB, it is where you are talking to your folks in terms of how AI can help them. I got asked a question 3 days ago that said, oh, thank you so much for helping me with this AI particular thing. We were talking about building an agent and doing some consistency. And then I got asked, so is this going to replace my job? And I said, I wasn't expecting that. That was from a user, which means users in SMB are asking that question.
Yeah.
So, so the answer was absolutely not. It just helps you save time so you're more efficient to do something else. This is not coming here to take your job. So yeah. The opportunities are education in terms of existing user base for your companies from an SMB point of view. And if you're a technology provider, it is a great opportunity in terms of helping SMBs transition to the next step. You have guardrails that you need to put. You have human judgment guardrails that you have to put. You have to see what you can do in terms of helping. And the Canadian government is trying its best to move us all in the right direction. So you take advantage of that, whether you're a solution provider or if you are an SMB a technologist as well.
Perfect. I couldn't agree with you more. So just to recap that, number one opportunity is just simple education for your staff. If you're a leader in a small and mid-sized business, here's what I've seen people do. Like I said, we've got this research board. If you're in a small or mid-sized business and you want to join our research community, please just reach out to me personally. You can do it in the chat. You can go to our website, change3e.com, and ask to be added into our research group. We would love to have you. We're researching how small and mid-sized businesses use technology all the time, especially AI. But One thing that we see a lot, and what we've done, is you start with one person and then you have regular interactions, what we call it an AI board. I know, creative, Nico. But what you do is, you just have a scheduled meeting. You don't have to do it forever. We did it for 6 months. So once a month, we would get together, and it wouldn't always be me there. A lot of times it would not be me there because I change conversations, right? You as the business owner, y'all, we mess stuff up. So we have to let our teams get together. I chose one champion in my company, but I ended up having like three or four. And what's a champion? A champion is someone in your organization that like is really excited about the tech, right? In this case, it was Copilot. So I started out with one person, and then that person would train other people. Oh, here's how you do this. Oh, here's my prompts. Oh, here's how you do that. They would also join. There's a lot of free learning out there, some good, some bad. There's also a lot of for pay learning that I would strongly encourage you to be very mindful of before you make an investment. But
Yep.
they would explore that sort of stuff and be our emissary, right? And then folks would teach each other and try different things and share it. And then that once a month gathering, our AI board, was when we'd get together and say what worked. Hey, this works. Oh, look at my look at my collateral. Look at my slide. I don't use PowerPoint anymore. Look at this. And you will be surprised, guys. It is really helpful. And if you are one of those folks that are like, really tech comfortable, I won't say tech savvy. You might be tech savvy, but you might just be comfortable with tech. You might be surprised how many people on your staff are not. And that I have at least two people. I have one in particular, and I love to give her. She's my right hand woman. I could not operate without her. But she is like, I do it this way, and I don't do it any other way, right? She do it in the 1987 way, okay, right? And I always give her grief so she wouldn't be embarrassed, but because I respect it. There's a way that she does things. It works for her, and that's how she likes it. And some people don't want to change. They're happy with how they get things done, and that's given them confidence. So, from my experience and from the research we've been doing, I want to make you guys aware of that you may have employees that have a certain way of doing things. You have processes and, workflows that you may or may not have documented. And changing those things could create unexpected friction. And throwing AI into the mix is one of those things, right? It leads people to work differently. And so be aware of it. So our AI board, we got together once a month. We did it for a few months. And now what we do is we just share intelligence, and we're ready as a business. Like I said, our journey is going on 1 year. We've got some AI agents that our tech team have built for us. Now we're a quasi technology company. So we've got internal applications developers, but they're not AI agents. They're not AI leaders, but we've kind of, our journey was like the first 6 months was a lot of, experimenting and having some aha moments. And now in the second 6 months, it was all about improving operations. And now after a year, we're really going in like kind of true transformation, like just doing things completely different using an AI foundation. So I'll give you that guidance. If you're also a business owner, you might see your journey similar. And also to let you know that if it's taking, if you're at this and you're 6 months in and you're like, oh my gosh, we still, for the most part, operate similarly, you're doing just fine. It takes time
Yep.
for your staff to build skills and confidence and to start to explore different ways to improve their productivity using a tool like Copilot or Claude or whatever. If it takes you longer, that's okay too. Please don't listen to those people out there hawking their workshops saying that if you aren't doing this, then you're dumb, right? You're not dumb, and you're not behind, and Skynet's not going to kill you tomorrow. I don't know about the day after tomorrow, but at least for right now, right? Whatever pace you're at is good. Like, don't worry about it. You're doing good. If you can handle it and you're comfortable and your people are feeling good and they're developing their skills, that's fine. You're doing good. Now, if you're a tech provider, I'd like you to think about that journey that I've just described and that advisory that I've just given the small,
Yep.
and it says business leaders in the call, and translate it from the perspective of how do you serve those customers. What I would encourage you to refrain from doing is scare tactics like, I know, oh, if you don't do this, then you're going to be sick, vulnerable, right? For the last 2 years, it's all been about data security. And so it's like, oh my gosh, vulnerability gap, and you're going to get hacked. And right. And so that's been very effective to get people to move. But I would not encourage you to use that approach for delivering or creating a business case for AI because, as I mentioned, and I'm sure you already know this, AI is more about people and processes than it is about technology. And so it's important for those people to feel comfortable and to have a direction and have clarity so that they can move forward with confidence. If they don't have that, if they don't have clarity of how they're going to move forward,
Yep.
and they don't have a clear direction, which is that one simple business case that turns into two and then 10, and right. If they don't have those things, then what you'll find, which is what we've seen repeatedly in very large companies, is that the AI adoption falls or it stalls. So if you want it to continue to grow and more people want, Copilot or whatever it is, they want to use those tools and they want to create AI agents and those agents deliver return on investment, then it means that the humans must have clarity, they need to have direction, and they need to have enablement so that they can move forward with confidence. And you, as a tech provider, are in a perfect situation to be that advisor. If you don't have advisory capabilities because maybe your roots are in reselling systems or equipment, then I would encourage you to find a partner like us, or there's other consultants or advisors out there. There's even independents, because if this isn't about me saying, hey, come partner with us, right? We would love for you to do that. Please do. But there are loads of independent consultants out there that are really great in certain agentic workflows, and they work with small businesses, and so they might be your advisory arm, or you might bring in advisory talent into your organization. But I can assure you from all the research we've done and the work that we're doing with small and mid-sized businesses and even with larger companies is that there is a absolute need for enablement. There's an absolute need for decision support. There's a lot of needs for that. And so if you're used to, going in and you quota, 25 servers and this and a couple applications and a few licenses, well, it will be more difficult for you to do that. And so we strongly encourage you to expand or augment your advisory capabilities, and that advisory is very likely to be something that will be required throughout your customers' early stages of their AI journey, most likely up until they built their first autonomous agent and deployed it successfully. So it's not once they built it, it's got to be built, deployed, in production, and it works, right? And it delivers value. So this is probably multiple years of a journey together with that client through that process, 1 or 2 years maybe, so they can get that return. And so if you don't have that capability yet, then I would strongly encourage you to think about how you could offer it so you would be able to provide that human advisory, right? The enablement and the support. So, Will, any last thoughts? We've gone through, we're at time. I think we have some questions in the chat. So I'm going to answer just a couple of questions. I know we're over time, people. Thank you guys for staying. Will, before I answer any questions from the chat, any more comments before I start taking Q&A?
The final summary is this: it's all about enablement. It's all about working with solution providers and people like us, like you and me. And it's all about how can we serve the SMB community so that we have higher AI adoption, because it's very useful, it saves time, and it makes them more efficient. Whether you're a solution provider offering these services or you are an SMB who needs these services, I think that's kind of, the writing's on the wall. That's the way we're going.
Yes,
Maybe we'll see
absolutely.
Arnold Schwarzenegger and Terminator coming up next, but we're not expecting that. So,
I don't think so. Yeah.
yeah,
No, yeah,
in a
right. No, but you're
nutshell.
totally right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really is a huge opportunity. And I always say this, and Will touched on it. But the average small business owner has, 15 jobs, right? You're doing 500 different things, right? And so AI is not going to reduce our workforce. It's just going to give us the workforce we never had, right? So that's really, I always say, the way to think about it is like the greatest opportunity for any country or any society or any business is actually in giving AI to small businesses and enabling them so they can operate more effectively. Because right now we're so time constrained. People always talk about how we don't have any money, which we don't. We're all broke, but no, that's not true. But there are times when you've got a level of brokenness, and that's okay, right? But the thing that we really don't ever have enough of is time, right? We
Yeah.
You can get money and you win the big contract, and right, you got the great client, but you don't have enough time to actually really do everything you'd love to do to keep that big contract or to maintain or grow your relationship with that client. And that's always the small business owner's challenge. It's the paradox. And
Yeah.
so what I would say again, for the small business owners in the room and for the tech providers, the hugest delta here for any small or mid-sized business is that they're more enabled, right? AI means that the CEO can do more, right? In that the 24 hours they're already working, because we don't sleep or eat or do anything else, right? But in the limited time that we're working, we can get more done. We can make better decisions. We have more clarity. We can be more professional leaders. We can stop telling our people what to do and actually give them written instructions. We can document our SOPs so we can operate more efficiently. I mean, there's like 400 things. I actually have identified 20 things that a business owner could do using AI that would, I mean, I'm talking overnight, lead to improved operations. And
Yeah.
it's things like that. It's just really straightforward, documenting processes. So, the business owner, that's your opportunity with AI. And tech provider, that's actually where I would strongly encourage you to start with your SMB clients is, what's that one little thing that would reduce friction and give them more capability? So, okay, questions. All right. I know we're over time. Thank you so much for staying over with us. So, question. All right. So, first question is, so what would success look like for an SMB or small business that starts their AI journey today and then looks back a year from now? Oh, that's a good one. Okay. And so what does success look like? So, Will, what do you think?
I'm thinking from an SMB, and again, just a reminder, Canada, 99% SMB. So we're talking majority here. Biggest success is what time did I save that allowed me to be more efficient in getting more done and allowing for improved operations, expansion, whatever the case might be. You can look at that in a year from now and say, I used to be there and I am here today. And it's a much more efficient environment than me doing 5 million PowerPoint slides, if I take it back as a basic example.
Yeah, that's a great one. So, I'll tell you from my own journey, there's three big things that are different. The first one is um, even though we tried, I've tried my whole career, running. I've been in business for almost 20 years. Praise the Lord. Yay. Um, for Change 3's been, this is our 16th year. But in those 16 years, I have no documentation, people. Okay, zero, this much. Well, now that's different. But, over the 16 years, I'd be like, oh, let's create documentation.
Yeah.
But we're always so busy and our processes end up changing and we introduce a new tech and it's like, oh my gosh, now I have to update all this stuff. And so almost always it would be like, we're not doing any documentation. Well, now it's like, it's hard not to do documentation now that we're using Copilot, because it's like when you have it, it makes it more effective. It helps you better, right? It generates better results and better content and better plans and right. Everything is better. So it's like, number one is documentation. And that sounds so mundane and boring, but oh my gosh, my dear brethren running small and mid-sized businesses, um, documentation is like everything, because then you can actually understand what your process looks like and what people are doing. It reduces error rates, like they
Yeah.
fall like a rock. And that's the first biggest thing, is that um, once I have all my leaders in my company, and then their layer below them, I think 50% of all our Microsoft 365 email users have Copilot. So it's a huge attach rate. And it's made it cost so much more money, but it's really worth it. And I just changed my mindset about what my bill used to be and what it is now. And I think of it as an investment in capability. But the documentation has really been a huge change. We operate faster. The quality of our work,
Yep.
which was good because we never did bad work, but what it takes to get to primo quality of the work that we do is, I'm talking probably 10 or 15 times less effort, less time. And that's because of documentation. So that's the first thing. The second thing is me as a leader. I found that I really did not have the kind of clarity that I needed to make the best decisions. And I didn't know that because as a small business owner, right, you're just in the cut all the time, right? Everything's being thrown at you. You're in there doing work. You're rolling up your sleeves. You're helping your staff. You're leading. You're meeting with clients. You're doing everything. And so now that we have better operations, more efficiency, there's more time for me as the leader to think, right? Because I would always be like, well, the CEO of Microsoft isn't doing all this mess that I'm doing. Well, right, because you know he's the CEO of this huge company. He's got a whole team. He's got like 20. He's got more people to support them than I have in my whole company, right? So he can. That's why he can focus and do all his great stuff. Well, my dears, with AI now, you can actually have. You don't have the whole team, but you can have more room to think. And so that was the other big one for me, is I was able to make better plans. I actually give almost all of my um, requests to my team in writing. I used to do that verbally. Oh, do this. Hey, let's do that. Let me talk to you about this plan that I have. I have an idea. And I would talk to my people about it. But if you want to start somewhere, leaders, that's the place to start. If you're used to giving instruction or guidance or coming up with ideas or planning verbally, and I think a lot of us are, that's what we do. I'm gonna challenge you. I'm gonna give you the 30-day challenge. I challenge you to stop doing that and instead speak to Copilot or your agent, or your AI helper,
Yeah.
and tell them your idea, and have it craft a written brief or plan about your idea, and you provide that to your team to discuss and see how that changes, how you're able to take it from an idea to execution. That that was a game changer for me. So those are my three big ones. I documented things, but our processes became documented. I used AI to give me more time to think by being more efficient myself, and as a result, I've created better collateral, more professional sales infrastructure, marketing infrastructure, like everything that I really didn't have time to do before. But where the money, I won't say the money, but right, really what's made the hugest impact in our potential, and how I went from where I was to, like, 4x in revenue and everything, is that I actually create written plans, and I really can reflect on them and think about them, and I share that with my leaders. They think about them, and it's in writing. And the last thing I'll share with you about that is, well, why does that make a difference? Because if you told them, what's the difference? 1,000% is the difference. Is that, if you describe something to a person, just like this webinar, right? After this is over, guys, we're going to generate an AI recap. It'll include all the visuals that we've shown you on screen. It'll include the Q&A. It'll include everything. We're gonna review it, synthesize it, keep the most salient points, make sure it's nice and clean. It's gonna be pretty, and then you'll have that asset, right? And this is my challenge. This is the 30-minute challenge for you guys, right? So when you get the email that comes to you after today's session, go click the link and go into the replay center and get that recap. And I think what you're going to find is your ability to recall the key points that we've talked about today. It's going to go through the roof, right? If you just listen to us talking, that's helpful. And having the visuals, that's helpful. But actually having a written document that you can refer to when you go over to your homeboy and be like, girl, I watched this webinar. It was really good. And I learned a bunch of stuff and I want you to learn from it too. And you can go boom and give her that written synopsis. Then she picks it up. She picks the baton up from you, right? And so that's a huge one. Okay, one more question. I know we're way over. Actually, I can't do any more questions because we're already over, and I promise not to keep you guys more than an hour. Thank you so much, you guys, for staying. Will, dearest, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So, Will you do a 60-day challenge with me? So all you small and mid-sized business owners and all the tech providers that are in our session, if they needed 1 hour of advisory with you, would you be willing to do that at no cost to them? That first meeting, would you be willing to do that?
Absolutely. It'll be a nice chat and we can see what we can do to help.
Yes. All right, guys.
First hour.
Awesome. And I'll do the same. So 1 hour of advisory. If you've got a small business client or you yourself and you want some advisory, Will is available. He'd be willing to do that. Of course, I would be willing to do that on my team. So just let us know. We'll reach out to you. You can hit us on the chat, but we really appreciate your discussion. Our next Change 3 Business Lab is actually, I think it's next week. Oh my gosh, I have too many of these. Yeah, great. I did one yesterday. Today I got one next week. The next business lab is actually about AI in the church. And so the last one that we did was about, how do church leaders use AI? We're always trying to do really focused things for people. And I'm actually planning to roll out a series about there'll be 15-minute sessions. I promise people I could do short ones, but they're really just habits, right? A review of my habits. So I would love your feedback. If there are any specific habits that you guys would like to learn, let us know in the chat or let my team know. The one that I'm planning to do first, which will be in a couple of weeks, is how I stopped using PowerPoint. And that's really, that's a real game changer. So helpful. So I'll talk to you guys. I'll do a little lab on how I stopped using PowerPoint and how I started using Copilot with Designer to create collateral, images that replace my need for decks and stuff, and how that's really transformed how I interact with my staff and my clients. And we'll go from there. We appreciate all your time. Have a great day and keep experimenting. We'll see you next week in the Change 3 Business Lab. Bye, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.